We made a movie in
72 hours.
72 hours.
Yep. The last film race you did was in the middle of COVID.
One in August of 2020, and then we did one in October of 2020.
Right. So the theme for 72 Fest this year was dreams, and we didn't know how that would manifest. Ended up manifesting in a type of dream, or a nickname for the dream, I guess.
Or even a trope.
A trope, and then what that dream was about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was the recreation. It was the recreation or interpretation of dreams. So you could recreate the dream, or you don't really mention that it's a dream, or you could interpret it.
So we got Kaleidoscope. We let that manifest as like a dream where you're talking to someone and they switch again, and it just didn't seem to do much. Now we did amp that up a little bit to where the dreamer was aware of the switches. With every film race, you go into the weekend with at least some idea of what you might want to make.
Going into this, we talked a lot about Eternal Sunshine, Inception.
We talked about Her, because Her is a film, that takes like a really, kind of like Eternal Sunshine takes an advanced concept and boils it down to the mundane. Because I love sci-fi, but trying to bring it down a little more to where that falls in the background. And we had so many actors that, were post-COVID hangovers, let's say, and they're like, we want to work. So we said, hey, usually we'll like lean on one actor, let's do an ensemble piece. So we had this idea for vignettes, and going into writing, we got Kaleidoscope, this is great for vignettes. But we kept that description of the Kaleidoscope dream we kept hitting against the wall. It's like, wow, it's a lot of stories to do swift changes. I'm not gonna say we gave up on the vignettes, but ultimately we said, okay, let's try and involve as many actors as we can. Really, Ali was on our, you can't argue she was the lead of the film, but then we had little, smaller, strong performances throughout the whole thing. We had Steve as the brother, Heather as Amelia.
Sister-in-law.
She had how many lines? And like
2.
Yep, spot on. Justin as the food truck guy that my son was like, wait, was that actually the food truck guy? I was like, no, he had a backwards hat and an apron. Vish. And then Steph and Luke also were there as the dreamers. Yeah, it's always hard when you want to use, like Vish is like such a strong actor. He was, a one-man show in Containment last year, and you always want to like give your actors as much as you can give them. And he was definitely like a smaller role in this, but he still like knocked it out of the park for like the part he was in. And you do feel bad as a director, I feel bad like how quick you're having to answer questions and like get them in a space. Makes you want to do something outside of a film race, so you can take that time. But you have an actor like Ali or Vish or any of our staples, and it's like they can get up to speed so quickly. And at the end of the day, you're like, okay, was it worth it? And everyone kind of agrees, yeah, it was worth it. It was, all the dreamers, we were debating, do we want them at the end with the door? It was supposed to just be her and her brother. Glad we kept them all. People probably assuming that was a thought we all had in our heads, like, that's where we're gonna start from. The door came in as like a stupid half note. I was like, write door in field, and you wrote it down. And, flash forward to Matt Hyder, I have a door, he's carrying it out to the field, and it was like, that's film races though.
The story that was just emerging naturally was this brother-sister relationship, and like what, that was kind of what kept feeling the most natural, and also what I think facilitated the interpretation of the dreams the most.
Yes.
That's the thing with these film challenges, is at some point you have to make the decision, this is the direction we're going. You can sit and talk about ideas all day long, but until someone says, okay, this is the direction we need to go, and we need to have the ample time to actually develop this idea, because it will change still, but you need to at least have some sort of heading.
On a number of these other projects, at the writing stage, we've normally had more people.
A lot of our normal, like our regular crew members, just weren't available that weekend. I kind of laugh because there's a lot of times when I wait till the last minute, not intentionally, but just kind of happens, where I'm like, hey guys, we're making a film this weekend. And usually they're like all available. And then this time comes down to it, and most of the people I had contacted like a month before, and they weren't available. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait till the last minute.
we knew we appreciate Tom, Anna, and Ian and our regular star writers, but it's like, yeah, having to move stuff was like, by the end we were physically just spent. I mean, like at some point, like Steve and Luke were carrying the Ronin for me, and carrying sound gear.
And Justin and Heather were kind of doing double duty on sound as well.
Ben and Drew were like our only dedicated like crew.
Yeah.
So Drew was doing our BTS, and now I was like, okay, he knows cameras. AC, he was carrying batteries for me. Ben was
lenses.
But we also Ben was doing audio. We wanted Drew to be able to film BTS, so we didn't want to pull him too much for just crew. So, but yeah, Ben coming in was great, and that's one of those cases where like we talk about this on film races, like people don't have to necessarily be skilled in something to help out on these. It's a great way to let your friends help on a project that they wouldn't normally be able to help on. One day and containment were purposefully small. So
like we used to. Used to be you, me, Dave, and Jim.
Yeah.
Having the bigger cast and technically having more characters, small as they are, created more for us to do.
And more coverage, because even though we did say, hey, let's get every dreamer on profile, like a shot of them, let's get them in the field, and like it was more moving pieces, yeah. Post-production, I think, was pretty standard. You took a lot more of the burden this time. You were editing from like 8 p.m. till 4 a.m.
Getting to the point where I couldn't think straight. It was the
diminishing returns on your edits.
It was just like I'm not firing on all cylinders.
Before I went to sleep, I was up to like maybe 1, then under 1. I was doing the visual effects shot. So by the time I got back, Allie and I had shot tests the day before. It looked great because we had been trouble with the green screen before with slow-mo and stuff. And so when we came back at the end of the day to film it again, I had the camera still in like the S-Log cinema mode. And the green screen wasn't looking good. So I did what I could, and I was ready to scrap the whole falling scene, which would have been terrible. But then you guys watched my rough comp and said, hey, that perspective works. So that gave me that fuel to be like, okay, I'll clean up this thing.
I reposted a picture you took for the Starwipe Instagram. It's amazing how film races bring out tremendous pride and also imposter syndrome. And I think that's what you're talking about. It's like, even in the edit, whenever I kind of found myself going like, feel like I need some of your vision to like, which direction do we want to go in here? I would stop, and then I went and searched for stock music, and I started dropping in little sound design things, which I fully expected you to change. I was like, these are just placeholders, but then most of them you liked.
So there's been so many times where I've come in or watched the rough cut out and just been like, okay, I see something here. And you get a little nervous feeling this. I was like, I'm not nervous about this at all. The rough cut looked great, and I could just see like where it was going, and that the visual effects and the visual style would just like make it that mwah.
And something you said to me, or you said in my film races, is like, we'll just make it look pretty, which sounds silly, but like, as I get tired of the day, I'm like, is this making sense? I'll start to be like, I'll frame it, whatever, but like being like, well, let's make every shot as good looking as it can be, you know, and then you get into post and you're like, okay, I'm glad I took the time to step a little more over Allie, to not give her a Goomba shot, but to give her an actual top down, to take your time with everything, so.
This is a really good example of how important color grading is. The scene in the field, I remember cutting that, trying to cut around the inconsistencies of the light. You shot some of Allie's shots, like during golden hour when the light was brilliant and super like gold and clouds came up on the horizon.
Right.
So like all of Steve's shots are very overcast. And then even some of Allie's other shots when you shot later and her walking towards the door, like all of that stuff, the sun was like in and out. I felt limited by that because I'm like, I don't know how we're gonna make this work. You put those filters on in addition to grading it, and it looks seamless. It doesn't distract you from the performances and the story and what's happening, what you're supposed to be paying attention to.
Allie going, I don't know if she did this on purpose or not, but she goes, when she's like freaking out,
we had talked
and her
about,
nodes are right here in person.
So we had talked about it at some point, her being like, oh, my head hurts or something, but that would be more a reference to her injury than the nodes, but that is kind of cool. One of the organizers of the 72 Film Fest, I remember him saying something at launch night about, oh yeah, we can't wait to see what like big set you guys build. And so we're known, I guess,
done that once,
well,
right?
Containment, we built a pretty cool set, but yeah, Capsule definitely set us apart as like, whoa, they built this whole spaceship in this time frame. So it was interesting because he had kind of like expected us to build this big set, and we were like, and I even said to him,
no sets.
I even said to him, I was like, I don't think we're gonna build a set this year. And he goes, you're gonna build a set.
I mean, you even made a ton of jokes this year about, oh, we're gonna make Allie run around in the woods. Free climb was on the side of a rock, but it was in the woods. But you have been experimenting more with like, building stuff. Creating a set is maybe a better way to put it. The essence of the door in the field has that vibe, especially with all of the actors around it. Like that has a set feel to it.
Yeah, it does.
Creating a space maybe not a set, but a space.
It was refreshing to have people be like eager to get out and get back to some kind of normalcy again.
Because then we have all the kids too. We had the whole like birthday party scene. We didn't even talk about that.
That's right.
It was fun. I mean, we just pulled out our birthday party stuff and kind of set it up in the...
We're always ready for a party at our house.
The easiest part was just we ordered pizza that we could use for the party, and then also have for the crew, which is a nice little like cheat that you can do.
Kids will do anything for pizza and cookies and cake.
Yeah.
Like, I think with the capsule, our youngest son, like, you can tell when filming, he's like, this is suspicious. It's no one's birthday, but I am getting cake. So he's processing like, should I be alarmed that mom and dad are making a fake birthday? But no, I have cake. But his grandparents were his actual grandparents. So our younger son was like, yeah, have a cake.
Yeah.
You know, as a word of encouragement to people watching other filmmakers, we were still at the start of filming like, we're kind of chuckling. This is the one that's not going to make any sense. We'll do our best. It's going to like be like, that's the quirky one. And we kind of just stuck to the vision, trusted the process, let actors get involved and change ideas, and just stuck through with the edit and didn't quit. Well, I hope people like it. That's always the best part about film races is 100, 200, 300 people react to your film, and that's like the most valuable thing. And hopefully you can bring some enjoyment to people. Well, thanks for watching. If you haven't, please like and subscribe. And also, if you haven't checked out our film race series, you can find a link right here, and there's a lot of fun tips there and stories. And we really hope you enjoyed or will enjoy the film. Okay, bye.